So basically, ever since human beings have been a thing, we've always been searching for ways to express ourselves. Some of the earliest known stories were cave drawings from around 30,000 years ago in what's now modern-day France, which depicted animals, humans, and other objects. Of course, this is France we're talking about, so it's possible that these drawings were just the results of a bit too much wine and their berets being on just a tad too tight, but still, I'm going to count it. Over the centuries, storytelling continued to evolve, from epic poems like the Iliad and the Tale of Gilgamesh, to the first novels like The History of Tom Jones and Robinson Crusoe, to even the invention of television in 1927, and it's all led to bad Chad customs. Anyways. So, I wasn't around for this due to being Gen Z scum, but there was a time, a long, long time ago, when there were literally 4 different TV channels: NBC, CBS, ABC, and Dumont. Basically, this meant that for a long time, everyone was watching basically the same handful of shows. Oh, and also, if you've never heard of Dumont, don't worry, nobody else has either. They were basically the Quibi of their day. Well, that comparison might be a little bit unfair to Dumont, but still. Also, if you want to learn more about Quibi, Ordinary Things did a great video about it. I'll put a link in the description. Speaking of Quibi, I'm sorry, it's just Quibi. Sorry. That serves as a nice transition into what I believe to be the downfall of human expression, just to put it mildly. Jeffrey Katzenberg, streaming services. Streaming services were the downfall, not that person who may or may not have made Quibi. So, the groundwork for our modern media hellscape was laid in 1997 by a little company called Netflix. As you probably know, they started out by sending people DVDs in the mail in these little paper envelopes. I remember being a kid and absolutely flipping my lid whenever a new movie would arrive in the mail. I even used to have one of those portable DVD players, and I have very, very distinct memories of sitting on the floor and laughing my butt off to classic Flintstones cartoons. I was a connoisseur in entertainment even back then. I was a very special child. But, of course, Netflix really hit it big when they started streaming movies over the internet. At first, I've got to admit, it was pretty terrible as someone who was there, even if I didn't think so at the time. Another childhood memory I have is streaming some awful dog movie. I think it was called Bingo or something. I'll put the poster up on screen if I was right. And I thought it was just incredible, the best thing I'd ever seen, and I was just blown away. Again, connoisseur, I was very, very special. So after that, we got all sorts of other streaming services like Hulu and Prime Video and Quibi. Sorry, but seriously, streaming services were actually great for creators for a good while there. I mean, can you imagine any traditional TV network picking up a sad horse show? Actually, streaming services were especially good for animators, whether they were being made by full production companies like Netflix, or by small or indie animators on sites like YouTube. In addition to serving as the home for storytime animators like The Odd Ones Out and Jaded Animations, it also allowed indie animators to break into the mainstream, with some recent examples being shows like Adult Swim's Smiling Friends, which has been a huge hit recently.
Look, Pim, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
And speaking of adult animation, as the esteemed Hayao Miyazaki once infamously said, anime is trash, and so are we. Don't look that up, by the way, just trust me on this one. Anime, as I'm sure you're already aware, refers to a style of animation which originated in Japan and has become progressively more and more popular internationally. Much of this popularity can be attributed to the internet. In the early days of international anime fandom, many fans would record Japanese TV broadcasts edit on English subtitles, and then upload these subbed episodes online. Eventually, this led to a streaming service called Crunchyroll, working officially with Japanese production companies to officially distribute subtitled anime. Today, the brand is worth roughly $100,000. This newfound ease of access led to the rise of one particular subgenre, isekai. To put it briefly, isekai is a subgenre of anime that usually follows the same basic template. A bland, self-insert protagonist living in modern-day Japan is killed, hello there, Chuck-kun, and he's transported to a medieval-style fantasy world where he goes on adventures and is usually accompanied by a harem of beautiful women who are uncontrollably drawn to his complete and total lack of personality. This premise has been iterated upon over and over and over and over again, and has become increasingly more and more ridiculous. We're at a point where there are far too many isekai to count, and this trend shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. This overproduction can be applied not only to anime as a whole, with 179 shows being released in 2020 alone, but really with all streaming services worldwide. In 2019, Netflix released 371 new TV shows and movies, or an average of over one new program per day. This is more than the entire TV industry released in 2005. Due to the subscription model of modern streaming services, companies like Netflix have to pump out as much original content as possible to maintain everyone's constantly dwindling attention span. Do any of you guys ever watch Adult Swim? It's like this late night programming block on Cartoon Network. This has led to an environment where shows and movies are treated as not valuable works of art, but disposable commodities meant to be consumed and forgotten about as quickly as possible. I would argue that this issue came to a head in August of 2022, when professional garbage human being and the head of the newly formed Warner Bros. Discovery, David Zaslav, announced the cancellation of the highly anticipated superhero film Batgirl, as well as several other high-profile projects. This was quickly followed by numerous critically acclaimed shows being pulled from Warner's streaming service, HBO Max. I loved you, Infinity Train. We will never forget you. We will never forget. This left the shows unable to be viewed by any legal means, horrifying both fans and artists alike, who, by the way, have been given zero advance notice that their shows were being pulled from the platform. And it genuinely makes me really mad that we've reached a point where entire works can be discarded like trash simply because the one guy at the top didn't see any value in them, and that just annoys me to no end, to put it mildly. So, what can be done? Well, a few things. First, make sure to support these shows and movies in any way you can, whether that's by buying merch, physical media, or even donating to creators directly. This also shows that it is vital to preserve media as much as possible, whether corporations like Warner Bros. Discovery think that's necessary or not. But more importantly than anything else, make sure people know about these shows. Shout about them from the rooftops, literally if you have to. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to go play Mario Super Picross. Try and take that away from me, Zaslav.